Hey, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me. Today is Monday. So this is my weekly Freight Broker Bootcamp live training. And today we're going to talk about how to turn one load into 100 loads by leveraging what not a lot of people understand, which is what's called the land and expand sales strategy. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So do me a huge favor. I had a couple little technical glitches before we started here. So let me know in the comments that you guys can hear me and you can see me and that the audio is clear and clean. And then once you do that, hit me up in the comments with the city and state you're logging in from. We'll try to do some shout outs. Okay. So let me know that everything's working well. And I'm hoping that the audio is working properly. I don't know what happened, but I tested it. It said it was working, but I'm not seeing a lot of feedback. Loud and clear. Perfect. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, cool. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So hit me up in the comments with the city and state you're logging in from. We'll try to do some shout outs. Do me a huge favor. Hit the like button. If you want me to come back every week and do these free trainings, absolutely free, hit the like button. That's the cost of admission. And I'm excited. We got a lot of notes to go over today. This is a lot. There's a lot here. Okay. I'm going to try to kind of cut this down a little bit. Maybe I'll do a more in-depth training later because this is a strategy that isn't something you can gloss over in 10 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to try to give you some high-level strategy today, and then maybe we'll do some more in-depth for that later. Okay. So that's where we're at. Let's see what we got. Eclectic Rose from Colorado, as usual. Thank you. Andrea from PA. Brian from Oregon, Betty from North Carolina, Dancer P. Thank you. Charleston, South Carolina. So we got people coming in from all over. Thank you so much for being here. Cynthia from Maryland, as always. Cynthia Moore. Thank you for being here. All right. Who else we got? I'm sure we got more than that. We've got people from, I guarantee you we've got somebody from outside of the United States, Canada, or maybe South America, or Europe, or the UK, Australia. We've got some. Sorry. Let me make sure. I don't know why this thing is doing it. I've got a really finicky. Okay. Let me know now that you guys can hear me. Am I back? I hope I'm back. I think what's happening is somehow there's a bad connection between my mic and the computer. There's something that's a little bit off. So I apologize. I'm going to do my best not to bang it, not to touch it, but sometimes I get carried away with my hands and I'm going all over the place. But all right, let me review my notes really quick and then we're going to jump right in. Okay. Here's the agenda. I'm going to do the training. Then we're going to jump into live Q&A. All right. So I'll try to get you guys in and out of here quick, but I want to make sure that you guys walk away with some good value, at least one or two nuggets that you can use to apply to your business. All right. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to cut this down. I didn't realize it was this extensive. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Sebastian, offshore, Arabic Gulf, doing some networking here. Cool. Awesome. All right. Very cool. All right. So let's rock and roll. So do you want to learn how to turn one load into 100 loads? Well, you got to lean in because what I'm going to share with you today is one of the most valuable sales and growth strategies that you can leverage for your freight brokerage, but nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it. And I have no idea why. It was a core growth strategy that I use to do over $200 million as a freight broker. And it's a core strategy that all of the large multi-billion dollar freight brokerages like C.H. Robinson and TQL and Coyote and all the big brokerages have used to build multi-billion dollar companies. All right. No, it's not some sort of a sales hack or a sales script or some sort of load board or some sort of AI tool. It's not some special shippers list. Okay. So get that out of your mind. All right. But lean in, because I want to share with you a strategy. It's a strategic sales strategy called land and expand. Let me explain to you what that means. All right. So the land and expand growth strategy is a strategic sales strategy that allows you to start with a small deal, right? Start by securing a small, low risk deal with a shipper. That's the landing phase. Okay. And then systematically growing it into a relationship with a much larger, much higher volume account over time. That's the expand stage. Now, this is a strategy that requires a little bit of thought. It's not something that just naturally happens. Okay. So I'm going to share with you a few tips here on how to first understand what the land and expand strategy is, but also how to leverage it in your business to start seeing some of that growth. Okay. So in the land stage, right, let's think about the first stage. The land stage, a lot of times what happens is you will position yourself as a low risk, reliable option, okay, to a shipper. But we all know that trust takes time to build. Getting that first load is the most difficult part of getting a customer, okay? Because once you get that customer and then you deliver on that, right, you've built a level of trust within them that will allow you to navigate and move forward to get additional business. But that the most difficult part, the part that has the most friction is getting that first load. So offering yourself as a low risk option, maybe, as in a trial lane, or maybe, as a backup broker for somebody who's already the primary. And maybe if they fall off or don't have capacity, or maybe it's on a difficult lane, right? Or a lane that they're struggling with, or maybe they don't have some coverage for because it's a difficult lane. So those are some ideas on how to land, right? Those are some ideas on how to get your foot in the door, right? You've all heard that expression. We got to get our foot in the door. That first load is how we land. And so whatever we have to do to build trust and to position ourselves as a viable option to get that first load, that is the most critical step. We've got to get that first load. All right. Now, once we get that first load, what happens then? Well, now we've got to over deliver, because it's the over delivery in the execution that actually builds trust, right? Just giving you the load doesn't really build a whole lot of trust. But if you over deliver on that load, you do everything you've promised plus, right? And then in the back end, they see that everything went according to Hoyle with no issues. All of a sudden, that builds an enormous amount of trust. Now, they're not going to go from one load to 100 loads overnight, but going from one load to 2 loads or 2 loads to 4 loads, that can grow very, very rapidly if you over deliver. So you have to have flawless execution on this first load. It has to go off without a hitch. Okay. That's just should go without saying. Okay. So that's the land stage. And then that's the delivery and execution stage, right? That's the second part. Now, finding expansion opportunities. Now, when you start getting into the expand stage, what happens is this is where you have to ask good questions. This is where you have to listen. This is where you have to do your research, because expansion opportunities can come in a lot of different shapes and forms, right? It can come in the form of additional loads within that existing lane that you've already moved. It could come within other lanes that maybe they're struggling with, or maybe they have new lanes because they have new clients or they've adjusted their supply chain. Or it can come in different modes of transportation. Maybe you started by doing some partial truckloads or full truckloads, and maybe they're struggling with LTL or rail. And if you have those capabilities, maybe you can expand into those other modes, right? So there's a lot of different ways. Maybe there's another expansion opportunity because you're doing business with a client in their facility out of Buffalo, but they also have a facility out of Pittsburgh. And now all of a sudden they have needs there. So you can expand into those areas, into those other facilities. So there's a lot of different ways that you can find expansion opportunities. And those are just a few, right? But a lot of that comes from doing your research, asking good questions, and listening. Okay. So that's finding some expansion opportunities. And then, from there, the key is obviously you want to scale that up, right? So you want to transition yourself from being a backup provider to the primary provider, but that takes time. Sometimes that can take months. Sometimes that can take 6 months or longer, depending upon how well you execute, how well you listen, and how well you build trust. One of the ways to do that, right, and to move from that backup to primary is to develop additional relationships beyond just your primary contact. So you might have a primary contact that's been tendering you loads. Now trying to expand into other relationships, maybe their boss or maybe one of their colleagues, within that organization, trying to expand those relationships to build additional trust so that you can be seen as a trustworthy provider and a viable option to go from backup to primary. Okay. So those are some examples of how to, first, what is the land and expand strategy? We talked about that. Second, we talked about how to land. Third, we talked about how to expand, right? And so that's going to give you a little bit of an overall idea of how this land and expand strategy works. I can tell you this was absolutely, positively critical to our success in growing our freight brokerage. It's been critical to any brokerage that's ever grown a significant revenue line, 10, 50, 100 million or more. Many times you can have a small brokerage that's doing $500,000 or $1 million, and they've got a few customers, but they've never really fully deployed the land and expand strategy where going into other facilities or other modes or really having a systematic approach to this, right? You have to have a systematic approach. You have to come into this relationship knowing that this is going to be your primary strategy, and you need to have a little bit of a roadmap. You need to set some goals and you need to monitor and maintain that. So it's not something that just happens naturally by itself, right? So you have to be very specific. You have to be very intentional. So that's the land and expand strategy. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you click the like button and stick around because I'm going to be doing some Q&A in just a minute. But if you're curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent, and you're looking for a roadmap, you're looking for something to take you from A to Z, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Trained over 10,000 students, had that program for well over a decade. I think it's 15 years now. And we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. If you're looking for more sales-related help, how to get shippers, strategies like the land and expand, or how to do cold calling, or how to get shippers specifically, you can check out my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator coaching and mentoring program. Again, you can check that out at freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. Okay. freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. All right, cool. So you guys lost sound, but we got it back. Okay, cool. All right, good. I'm glad you guys can hear. Okay, cool. So I did an overview of the land and expand because if I really did a deep dive, this training alone would have probably taken an hour or more, right? Probably a couple hours. But I think I'm going to put some additional training together. Matter of fact, I'm going to put a much more in-depth version of this in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program, which is that coaching program. Matter of fact, if you guys want to get on the wait list for the Sales Accelerator, if you want to learn more about it, get on the wait list, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. Okay. That's my 8-week Freight Broker sales coaching program. I take that piece of my brain, I transplant it into your head, teach you my best freight broker sales strategies, tactics, tools, my entire system that allowed me to do over $200 million as a broker. So you guys can check that out. Get on the wait list. If you're not on the wait list, you'll never get an opportunity because it's almost always sold out, but spots do open up occasionally. And so when they open up, I'll send out an email or a text, and then it's kind of first come, first serve. Okay. So that's that. All right, cool. So let's, first of all, before we jump into Q&A, hold your questions for now. Scale of 1 to 10. Okay. Give me some feedback here. 1, Dennis, this was terrible and useless. It was a waste of my time. 10, I loved it. It made total sense. And I think it's going to help me. Give me a scale of 1 to 10 where you guys are on this topic. I'm always struggling to come up with new topics. You understand, I've got over 300 free freight broker training videos on my YouTube channel. Okay. So I have talked about anything and everything under the sun to do with freight brokerage. All right. So if you guys are looking for a resource that you can consume on demand whenever you want, you definitely got to check out my YouTube channel. All right. It's absolutely free. Some of you are probably tuning in from there already live. I'm streaming this on LinkedIn. I'm streaming this on Facebook as well. So that's a great resource for you. So scale of 1 to 10, give me some feedback, 1 to 10 on this training. And then after that, we'll jump into the Q&A. I haven't seen anything in the comments. Did we lose you guys? Hope I didn't lose you guys. Oh, okay. Eclectic Rose, 10. Okay, good. I thought I lost you guys. All right. Julie, 10. And listen, I don't need you to placate my ego. I want you to be honest. But if it's anything less than an 8, just let me know how I can improve it. What did I do wrong? What can I do better? Okay. That would be amazing. I little fast. Okay. Cynthia. Yeah, it was a little faster. I felt a little rushed. So thank you for that. Cool. Yes. I may not have delivered it the best I could have today, but I promise you, this land and expand strategy is critical. And it's not something you can just take for granted. You have to be very intentional about how you do this. Very intentional on the land side of it, right? Because it's hard to build trust with someone that barely knows you, right? So you need to position yourself more, like I said, maybe if you're getting a little bit of friction as a backup provider, or maybe you're working on, some harder to cover or more difficult lanes, right? And then from there, once you get your opportunity, you get your foot in the door. I can tell you right now, those are probably the 2 ways that most freight brokers get their first load from a customer. They are either a backup where somebody falls off the load and then they get an opportunity, or it's on a difficult lane where they're struggling to have some sort of coverage on, right? Those are probably, I would say 80+% of clients are acquired using those 2, kind of strategies within the land and expand. That's how they land their first load. Because again, the hardest part of this whole deal is that friction on the first load. Once you get past that and you over deliver, right? And you do everything right and you do everything you say you're going to do, it's amazing how that switch flip, that switch can flip, right? And then that can go again from 1 load to 1 load a week, and from 1 load a week to 1 load a day, from 1 load a day to multiple loads a day. Boom. That's how it expands. Okay. So cool. Okay, cool. Thank you, Scott. All right, good. If you really are looking for in-depth help on sales and sales related systems and growth strategies, you definitely got to get on the wait list for the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Okay. I can't say it enough. It's the program that's designed specifically to take new brokers and new agents from struggling to getting their first 5 or 10 clients and doing 7 figures in sales. That's what that program is designed to do. Okay. So hope that helps. All right, cool. So let's do some Q&A. Hit me up in the comments with any questions that you have. I'll do my absolute best, whether it be about this strategy or anything related to starting or growing a successful freight brokerage. And unfortunately, I'm out of water. So hit me up in the comments with any questions you have, and then we'll get this wrapped up so you guys can get on your way. Okay, Mike. Mike asks, hey, Dennis, would you recommend being an asset-based broker initially and trying to add shippers when picking up loads? Mike, I am a huge believer and have proven it personally and through the heavy majority of my students that you do not need to be asset-based to build a successful brokerage. Okay. Now, if you are an asset-based company already and you have your carrier authority and you want to add brokerage, well, then that just gives you a much bigger opportunity to expand that land and expand strategy. Because let's say, for example, okay, you're a carrier and you've got 6 trucks and you've got a couple primary shippers that you're working with, right? Not necessarily brokers, but primary shippers that you're working with, and they're keeping you very busy. And the problem is you want to add more trucks because you want to do more loads. But the problem with that is it's a lot of liability, right? It's a lot of risk. It's a lot of capital. So if you add your brokerage authority, well, then you can start moving freight on trucks that you don't have to buy. You don't have to operate. You don't have to hire the drivers, right? You can start brokering loads to other carriers. So that's where it gives you that expansion capability as a carrier. Now, if you're not a carrier and you're just getting started as a broker, no, don't go out and get trucks. Okay? Absolutely not. You don't need to do that. Betty says, what documents does the shipper require? Well, typically they're going to require a W-9 from you, okay, so that they can pay you, okay? They're going to require some billing information so that, or some payment information so that they can pay you at the right, make sure they pay you properly. They may require you to show some sort of proof of your freight broker authority, although that's typically done online digitally, but you could provide them that. Document wise, there's not a lot, right? Contracts are not required, but sometimes are a part of the process. In many cases, if a contract is required, the shipper will have their own shipper broker agreement and they'll give it to you. And you may have to sign that or agree to that or review that and make sure that that fits your, fits what you're trying to do. So there's not a lot. There's really not. So hope that helps, Betty. Okay. How do you over deliver after everything has gone to plan? Well, first, over delivering starts before you get the load. Let me explain to you what I mean. To over deliver means that you have to have done your research on the lane that they're giving you an opportunity in. Okay. So you have to make sure that you could find capacity. You have to make sure that the prices that you're quoting are going to be something that is a reliable quote, right? A quote that actually comes with a truck rather than just a quote that then they give you the load and you can't cover it, right? So that's the worst case scenario. So it's doing that research up front and doing your due diligence so that you can ensure that there is available capacity at a rate that you can pay to allow you to mark it up and make some money, right? On that first load, you might not make 20%. You might make 5%. You might make 10%. But remember, the hard part is getting your foot in the door. It's not about that one load. It's about land and expand, okay? The lifetime value of that client, even though it might only be a $1,500 load, might be millions of dollars over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. So don't get greedy on that first land step, okay? Now, on the execution part, again, a lot of that happens up front. The execution piece, over delivering there, is making sure that you're responsive to any of their requests or questions or updates that they're looking for, right? Make sure that you bill them properly. You give them all the documentation that they require. Make sure you over communicate on that load, okay? When the load picks up and you verified it's picked up, shoot off an email and say, hey, listen, just verifying the load's been picked up. When in transit, if it's a 3-day load, right? The next day, send an email and let your contact know, hey, listen, everything's going well. I just spoke to the driver. We're on There's no delays, no issues, right? We're on pace. We're on schedule to deliver on time. After it delivers, let the shipper know, notify them. So those are things that you can do to kind of over communicate and to build trust, because you're helping to eliminate fear. Okay? So those are a few things you can do. Good question, Scott. Cynthia, do I think the tariff rates going crazy? Okay. Do you think with the tariffs rates going crazy, do you think it's harder to find shippers? No. No, let me explain to you something, okay? This is what most people don't understand. The best time to get shippers is when there is price volatility. Let me explain to you what I mean. There's two scenarios. Well, there's three scenarios, right? Prices are going down, prices are stable, or prices are going up. The best case scenario is when prices are going up. Here's why. Because as prices, if prices are stable, it kind of goes back to that old adage, shippers, it's, if it's not broke, don't fix it. There's no pain. There's no reason to change. There's no reason to take risk by bringing on a new vendor if things are stable. But when prices go up, what happens is they're going to feel some pain, right? The shipping manager, logistics manager is going to get a call or an email from somebody in the financial, management side of their business. They're going to say, listen, we've got to control freight rates. We can't keep raising them. We've got to control that. So I need you to find some solutions. And this is where new vendors get opportunities. Price volatility creates opportunity. Okay. So for getting new clients, price volatility is incredible. Now, the hard part about price volatility is having clients that you've been doing business with for a long time. And let's say the market's been stable and you haven't had to make adjustments on your rate. And then all of a sudden price volatility comes in and you've got to increase your rate because there's volatility in the market. It's going to cost you 10 or 20% more to cover that lane. And so unless you're going to run it at a loss, you're going to have to sell that increase to your customer, right? They know there's going to be volatility and they know when there's volatility in the market. So, but you've got to get that approved. So that creates a little bit of friction. But for getting new customers, the best time is when there's price volatility. I've been saying this for years. You don't want a flat market. Okay. You do not want a flat market. Okay. So understand that. Hope that helps, Cynthia. Carl, do large brokers like TQL outsource loads to small brokers? I don't know. I suspect they probably have some co-broker relationships, but I also suspect that they probably want to be the carrier broker, not the shipper broker on those. So they'll take loads. They might take loads from smaller brokers and then cover it and move it. But I doubt that they're outsourcing to other brokers. But again, I don't have a lot of experience with TQL. My suspicion is they don't outsource to a lot of small brokers. And my position is you shouldn't be focused on trying to land a broker as a client. You should focus on getting shippers direct. Okay. You do not want to build your business on a co-broker relationship. It is a horrible, horrible way to build your business. Okay. So any of you that are thinking that you're going to go out and start co-brokering loads and that's how you're going to build your brokerage, it's a horrible, horrible strategy. It's like building your house on a foundation of sand. It's terrible. You need your own direct shippers. Okay. Can't say it enough. Joe, hey, Dennis, my niche seems to be in produce. Since I do sales in produce, what would be your advice on moving into dry cargo like beverage? Well, if that's your niche, if that's what you want to niche down into, or you want to expand into that niche, number one, you got to do some research on that niche, right? What's going on inside of that niche right now? Right? What's the news? What are the updates? What are the challenges? What are the issues? So you're going to want to do some research on the industry as a whole, bottled beverages and different and groceries and all those sorts of things that are very common to go on vans. So you're going to need to identify those sub niches that go on dry vans. Okay. So that would be kind of one of your steps. The next step would be you'd want to create a list of companies, potential companies that you could go after, right? Now, I strongly suggest you focus on small to medium-sized companies, like I've said before, not large companies, right? Don't call Costco, don't call Walmart, don't call, any of these big, don't call Nestle, don't call Pepsi, right? Focus on small to medium-sized companies because that is where your value is much more appreciated. The sales cycle is a lot less formal, is a lot less strenuous. If you go after big multi-billion-dollar shippers, they're going to put you through the ringer. I promise you. And the sales cycle can be 6 months, 12 months, or longer. Okay. Small companies, your sales cycle might be 2, 4, 6 weeks. Okay. So yeah, hope that helps. Betty, can I ask a shipper, what do you normally pay on this lane? You can. Sure, you can. It's a good way to gather sales intelligence. They're not always going to tell you, but I would say probably 30 to 50% of the time they'll tell you if you've built a little bit of rapport, right? But again, remember something. Your goal, it doesn't really matter what they're moving it for. What matters is what you can actually cover it for in a spot market. So there is some connection there. It does have value to have that information, but if you don't have it, you should be able to figure out what your cost basis is within a pretty reasonable amount. And what you got to understand, your cost basis and C.H. Robinson's cost basis are probably going to be pretty close, within $25 to $100, right? Of what you're going to pay because you're paying the same trucks. You're using a lot of the same trucks. Okay. So your cost basis, you should be able to do the research to find out what that spot market cost basis is today. All right. So yeah, you can ask. There's value in it. It gives you an idea of a target of what they're looking for. But I would not go in and just quote that or quote $5 less, because the reality is you got to do your research. Because if you can't cover that lane, all right, for what they're paying it for, that doesn't mean you can't get the business. Okay. You can be 50 or 100 or even maybe a couple $100 more sometimes, depending upon what their pain is, what their need is, where they're at. Remember, if price volatility, if things are going up and they're used to paying $1,000 for that lane, and now all of a sudden rates have went up to $1,200, you quoting $1,000 isn't going to help you because you're going to lose money. You're not going to make any money on it. You're not even going to be able to cover it, right? So doing that research and understanding that is important. Hope that helps, Betty. Chairman, what insurance do most shippers ask for from new brokers? Well, number one, insurance, general liability, contingent cargo are not a requirement for brokers. Okay. Now it's an optional coverage that you can get. If a shipper requires it, they're going to probably require one or two: general liability, contingent cargo. Rarely are they going to require anything additional, because you're not going to get primary cargo coverage, right? So it's going to be contingent cargo and general liability if they ask at all. Josh, I specialize in heavy hauling. I have found myself in some situations where the insurance we carry does not comply with the customer's require, but driver's insurance does. How would you make reason out of this or handle that objection? Well, your carrier coverage is not, okay, wait. I specialize in heavy equipment. I have found myself in a situation where the insurance we carry does not comply with the customer's requirements, but driver's insurance does. How do you make reason? Okay. Well, if they're what they're telling you is that they're telling you that they're requiring you to have asset-based coverage, which you can't have. Okay. So you have to just explain to them that as a broker, we have this type of insurance. And as a carrier, our providers, all of our carriers have this type of insurance. Okay. This is going to be the primary coverage. This is going to be the secondary coverage. Okay. The carrier's insurance is always primary for liability and cargo. Your insurance, contingent cargo, is a backup. Your liability insurance is a backup. Okay. So yeah, I mean, the only way to do that is just define the fact that you're a broker. Here's our coverage. And now if you're selling yourself like you're asset-based, that's why they're asking you for asset-based insurance in your name, but you're not. Okay. So hope that helps. You know, they're the best, right? You're asking for the best TMS. I'm going to give you the TMS that I trust, the TMS that I have the most experience with, the TMS that is very innovative and forward thinking and cost effective. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS. You can sign up for a free trial. That's a Send TMS. You can sign up for a free trial with no credit card. All you have to do is in the coupon code, put FBBC, let them know, FBBC, Freight Broker Bootcamp, let them know that I referred you, right? We have a partnership and a long-term relationship. I've known Tim Hyam, the CEO, for many, many years. And yeah, if you check that out, I would recommend to send. There are lots of good TMSs out there, but very few allow you to do a free trial with no credit card. Very few have been around and are profitable, right? They're not losing money. They're not one of these freight tech companies that are losing a shit ton of money and they're going to be gone in 6 months, right? So yeah, hope that helps. Okay, give me 1 sec. Okay, Kristen asks, outside of the load board information, where else should we get our research for quoting lanes? Carriers, direct carriers, right? So you can get the rate, you can use the rating tools on the DAT and use the rating tools on Truckstop, and those are all great. Don't get me wrong. But you need to peel the onion back a little bit further. You need to use things like lane history based upon the lane that you're looking for. Find out what carriers have posted their trucks in that lane the last 30, 60, 90 days. You need to talk to them. You need to look on the live load board based on that lane and see who has trucks and call them and negotiate a rate and try to find out what the real spot market rates are, right? And I'm going to give you a tip. Don't call a carrier and ask them, hey, how much do you charge from point A to point B? It doesn't matter what they want to charge. They're all going to want to charge $3 or $4 a mile. But the reality of the spot market, you need to use those rating tools as a baseline to understand kind of where the bottom is. And you need to what's called find the market. If you find the market, you'll kind of find the bottom of what it's going to cost you, and you'll get a range. And then from there, you can do a quote, right? But until you find the market, you can't do a quote. So the most valuable resource besides the load boards and the rating tools is actually having conversations with carriers that want to run that lane. Good question. Sorry, Betty, I was frozen. I didn't realize it. Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. All right, listen, great job. Thank you for showing up. If you found any value at all, hit the like button, okay? If you want me to come back every Monday to do these free trainings, hit the like button, okay? Set a reminder in your phone that I'm here every Monday at noon Eastern. We'll do these live trainings. We'll do these live Q&As. Really appreciate you guys being here. Again, if you guys need help getting started as a freight broker and you're just looking for that startup help, that system A to Z to go from really not knowing what the hell you're doing to start moving your first few loads, Check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Trained over 10,000 students, had that program for over a decade, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. If you are looking for sales-specific help, right? You're looking for help on how to get shippers, Freight Broker sales strategies, having a system that will allow you to get customers in any market conditions. Rates are going up, rates are going down, right? Check out Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. If you get on the wait list, you'll get notified when spots open up. It's sold out right now, but you'll get notified when spots open up, and hopefully we'll get a chance to work together. But that is a live coaching program, okay? Coaching and mentoring program where I help you get your first 5 or 10 shippers and on your way to the first 7 figures in sales. Okay. Hope that helps. Have an awesome day. Have an awesome week. We'll see you next Monday on the next Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Thanks all. Appreciate it.